In this video, we're going to be talking about basic math formulas, and we're going to start with the perimeter formula. The perimeter formula is a formula that's widely used in math. The perimeter of a figure is the sum of the length of its sides. Or in other words, it's the length around the outside of the figure. So if you take a look at this rectangle, there's two ways that I can measure this rectangle. I can measure the length of all the sides going around the outside of the figure, that's the perimeter, or I can measure the inside space of the figure, and that's called the area. We're going to focus on perimeter. Notice that my figure here, my rectangle, has two lengths. These two sides are parallel and they're exactly the same length. And then we call this the width. And these two sides are also the same size. So if I'm going to measure the perimeter, I'm going to measure the top length and add it to the right width. I'm going to add then the bottom length and add that to the left width. So I've added all four sides together. Now, this is one way that we could write it. Remember that when you add, we can use the commutative property, which means that we can order our numbers in any order and we'll still get the same answer. So I could put my two lengths together and my two widths together. Still adding all four sides, I just rewrote it in different order. Now, notice that I have two lengths that are exactly the same size and I have two widths that are exactly the same size. So another way to write it is 2 times the length, because we have two lengths, plus 2 times the width, because we have two widths. This is the formula that you're most likely going to see when you're working with perimeter. Perimeter is 2 times the length plus 2 times the width, and that's just adding all four sides together, but combining them to make the math a little easier. So let's say, for example, that I have this perimeter or this rectangle, and the width of the rectangle is 10 feet and the length is 15 feet. So I need to know the measurements of the length and the width in order to find the perimeter. So the first thing I always do when I'm working with formulas is I always copy down the formula. That allows me to substitute into the formula without making mistakes. And now I'm just simply going to substitute 2 times the length, well, the length is 15, plus 2 times the width, which is 10. And now I can go ahead and do the math. 2 times 15 is 30, 2 times 10 is 20, and then 30 plus 20 is 50. And you always want to put your units, which is feet. So the perimeter is 50 feet. That means that the distance around the outside of this figure in total is 50 feet. Okay, so that's the definition. And also it's a explanation of how we can derive the perimeter formula for a rectangle. And you've seen an application of how it's used.